Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled parent stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen gets mad she can't use our restroom because it's broken. After that, entitled woman gets kicked out of the doctor's office. And after that, no ma'am, cheating the system is not as easy as you think. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to use the restroom. Please don't do this to me. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen gets mad she can't use our restroom because it's broken. So I'm normally one to stalk Reddit in the shadows, but I figured I'd share a little Thanksgiving Karen moment I just had. I'm at work and on mobile, so I apologize for any format issues. Hopefully this is in the right place. Anyways, happy Thanksgiving everyone and enjoy. We've got me, the manager of this location, and we've got Karen, the entitled woman. So I work for a gas station chain that often is found on the same property as Walmart. And no, we are not Walmart as everyone seems to think. That's why we're open and they are closed. Thanksgiving Day, we are open and it's notoriously slow. So once I'm done with paperwork and such, I decided to get outside and do some stocking and cleaning, which wasn't done the night before as it should have been. We are a kiosk store, so the way it's set up is you have coolers and snack racks on either side of the walkway that leads you to the window where the register is. Said coolers are stocked through doors on the back side. The storage room and bathroom doors are on the side of the building near the back. So now that I've explained that, onto the encounter. I had just filled my cart with drinks and walked to the back side of the cooler to stock. I can hear and see if anyone passes in front of the cooler, so I know when a customer comes in. A woman passes in front of the cooler I'm stocking, so I stop, shut the door, and enter the kiosk to take care of her. Me. Good morning, ma'am. What can I do for you today? Karen. Oh, I'm so thankful you are open. Is your bathroom unlocked? Me. Yes, ma'am. We only close on Christmas. And I apologize for the inconvenience, but our bathroom is out of order and locked. Karen gets suddenly flustered and loud. Well, why? Can't you fix it? Me. Trying to hide the sigh I want to let out because I already know how this is going to go. No, ma'am. We are not able to fix it and are currently waiting on them to send a plumber out. The toilet is completely clogged and will not flush. And we believe we had a busted pipe somewhere. She cuts me off. Well, that doesn't make any sense. You're just too lazy to fix it. I need to use your restroom, so open it for me. At this point, her face and ears are getting red, and I'm just standing there with an annoyed look behind my mask as she yells at me. I take a deep breath and remind myself I have to be professional because I'm the manager. Me. No, ma'am, I cannot let you use my bathroom. I'm sorry, it's out of order. It will not flush, and we believe we have a busted line or a severe clog. Karen. I gotta go. I have to go now. Nowhere else is open. You have to let me use it now. She is full on screaming at me at this point. I kept hoping someone else would walk up, forcing her to give up and leave, but no such luck. Me. Ma'am, again, I'm sorry for your inconvenience, but the bathroom is out of order. At this point, I'm over it, and my frustration is starting to show. Karen. You can't talk to me that way. I'm a paying customer. Unlock your bathroom now and get the manager on the phone because they need to know about their rude, lazy employee who won't let me use the bathroom. Me. For starters, I am the manager. And no, the bathroom is out of order. And ma'am, you haven't purchased anything, so you're not a paying customer. If you'd like to purchase something, I can help you with that. Otherwise, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I have plenty of work to keep myself busy on this slow day, and I'd like to get back to it. Never saw this woman in my life. She is definitely not a regular. She calms down suddenly and gets a smirk on her face. Fine, I'll just call corporate's number and tell them how horrible you treated me. I smirk back at her, pointing as I speak. Me. If that's what you'd like to do, ma'am, then I can provide you with that number. But I will let you know that everything we do here is recorded with audio. Showing her the microphone and cameras. Give me just a moment and I'll write down that number for you. Karen looks around and then gets flustered yet again, flailing her arms about. No, you've done enough already. You've ruined my Thanksgiving. Hope you're happy. She then storms off, gets in her car, and squeals tires out of the parking lot. And that was the end of that. People are so frustrating sometimes, but just gotta keep moving forward. Thank you for letting me share my lovely Thanksgiving Karen encounter. This job seems to attract those types of people, so I might just start sharing those stories more here. I hope everyone had an awesome and safe Thanksgiving this year, and for those who don't celebrate it, I hope you had an awesome day as well. Well, what would you have done in this situation? Would you have unlocked the bathroom and let Karen use it or not? Please let us know. I would have just gone right then and there. When a Karen's gotta go, a Karen's gotta go. Entitled woman gets kicked out of the doctor's office. I work at a podiatrist's office as an x-ray tech. Most of our patients are elderly and are near and dear to my heart. The kind of people who are like second grandparents to you, whose feet you happen to be very acquainted with. Then there's patients like this woman. We'll call her Lynn. Lynn is that kind of woman that will be sickly sweet to your face and then complain about you to your superiors. We would dread looking at the schedule to see her name on the daily patient appointment list. Some of my coworkers have flat out refused to take her back to a patient room and get her vital signs, prep her room, etc. Everyone at my office has a story about what she's done to them. It's practically a rite of passage. At this point, she had been coming to our office for about 3 years. In my own personal experience with her, she acted kind to my face, but slightly entitled. She complained about something I did to my doctor, and to be honest, it was so mundane, neither I nor the doctor she complained to, who owns our practice, took it seriously. The doctor even flat out said, "Oh, Lynn complained about you, Delta, but she complains about everyone." When she didn't get the proper reaction she expected from the doctor, again, doctor thought it was mundane and said she would speak to me about this problem. She then tried to call a day or so later and speak to our office manager. My coworker picked up the phone and spoke to her. Lynn had complained to the doctor who owned the practice, so she couldn't exactly take it to anyone higher up in our office food chain. She had the nerve to say, "I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but I think it needs to be addressed. Lady, you went out of your way twice to complain about me. You wanted me to get in trouble." On to the main event. Lynn finally gets her comeuppance. I was on maternity leave when this happened, so this is secondhand from my coworker who isn't a Redditor. Lynn came into the office in apparently a very foul mood, more so than usual anyway. One of the nurses called Lynn back to her room 3 minutes after her scheduled appointment time. Lynn proceeded to contradict all of the nurse's questions/information she had about the appointment out of spite. Stuff like, "Nurse, Lynn, your blood pressure is 142/90. Lynn, that's not right. My blood pressure is usually 140/80. Nurse 1, being an older woman and over years of Lynn's BS, said, "Okay then." Then when the doctor came in, Lynn started demanding that, "You have to give me an injection. My feet hurt, and you're going to fix it now." The doctor's policy is that these injections, which can help with certain types of foot pain, are a once in every 3-month deal. And if something stronger is needed, they'll look at physical therapy, so they don't just throw pain pills at you. Lynn had had her injection about 1 week ago and constantly refused physical therapy, despite having no valid/medical reason to not go. She was very obese and very lazy, and just wanted a solution now, and didn't want to correct things in her life that would easily stop the problem for good, instead of temporarily. Then Lynn demanded new diabetic shoes. Now normally we do offer this service with one nurse, let's call her Nurse 2, that has some sort of certification that only she has to take the measurements for these shoes. However, Lynn had burned that bridge a long time ago because she had repeatedly treated Nurse 2 like garbage and called her names. Nurse 2 had long ago refused to measure her ever again. The doctor, knowing this, told Lynn that she would send orders for new diabetic shoes to another company we worked with in the area that does this sort of thing. But Lynn didn't want shoes from them. She wanted them from us. The doctor, not wanting to throw Nurse 2 under the bus, simply told her we weren't offering diabetic shoes at this time from our office. Lynn kept getting angrier, but had no choice but to accept defeat that she wasn't getting what she wanted, schedule her next appointment, and pay her copay. She went to our receptionist window and concluded her business and headed out into the parking lot. She had paid with a credit card, and our receptionist asked her if she wanted her receipt, to which she replied, "No, why would I want that?" She then proceeds to stomp on out to her car. 3 minutes later, she calls our receptionist from the parking lot. Lynn, angry, "You need to print me off a receipt for our transaction today. Why wasn't I given one?" Receptionist, "Ma'am, I offered it to you before you left. I can send it to you in the mail, or you can pick it up from our office at your convenience." "You did not offer me my receipt. I'm in the parking lot. You need to bring it out to me now." Receptionist, "Ma'am, you can come back inside and get it, or I can send it out to you in the mail. I can't leave my desk as I'm the only reception in the office today. You have to bring it out to me now. My legs hurt and I can't walk in there. This was crap. She literally just walked out of the building just fine and had no leg injuries. At this point, Lynn just starts yelling about how she doesn't deserve to be treated like this and how someone needs to bring her the receipt now, yada yada yada. It's so loud that Nurse 2 can hear Lynn yelling on the phone from several feet away. Nurse 2 asks if it's Lynn on the phone and the receptionist confirms it is. Nurse 2 asks for the phone and says she'll handle this. Nurse 2: Hello, this is Nurse 2. How can I help you? Lynn yelling: You need to bring me my receipt now. My legs hurt and you need to bring it now. I should have been offered it in the first place when I checked out. This is ridiculous. You're all incompetent. Bring it to me now. Nurse 2: Ma'am, your legs seem to be working just fine when you walked out of the office. Now you can either come in and get your paper yourself, or we can mail it to you. Lynn starts yelling incoherently, repeatedly calling Nurse 2 names, etc. Nurse 2: You have a nice day, ma'am. Hangs up. Nurse 2 told me how great it felt to just call Lynn out on her BS. I felt the satisfaction from the story when Nurse 2 told me about it a couple weeks later when I returned from maternity leave. But it gets better. Apparently, the doctor that was working that day, we have two, and they rotate days they work and surgery days, had overheard Lynn's yelling on the phone and was not having the way Lynn treated the entire staff. She told our other doctor, the one that owns the practice, and they agreed that they would dismiss her from the practice. So the rest of my work days are looking a lot more Lynn-less every day I go in, and it's a wonderful life. Have you ever known someone who acted like Lynn? And if so, what did they do? Please let us know. Anyone have Lynn's number? I'd really like to grab a bite to eat with her and complain about stuff. No ma'am, cheating the system is not as easy as you think. My first post here, but definitely won't be my last. I work in college admissions for a private university, so I deal with entitled parents and teenagers every day. The first noteworthy event happened back in September, just after our newest semester started. With lockdown, all offices that don't deal directly with student needs, like us, are working virtually via phone and video calls. But because we also deal with visitors and prospectives, we use a rotating skeleton crew where we each cover our office 1 to 2 times a week. It was my turn to be at our front desk, and I was just sitting listening to music while I get through hundreds of emails when a woman and her teen daughter come in. The woman asks about herself, thinking about starting school again, wants to take classes, pretty standard thing to deal with. I asked the normal questions. Any previous college? What would you like to do? When would you want to start, etc. Lady: So, I want to get started as soon as possible. So can you get me started? Me: You can definitely apply for the spring semester, which means a January start. No, I can't do that. I need to do it now. So I was thinking on Monday. Me: Oh, well, we're a few weeks into the fall semester, unfortunately. The deadline to register for classes was last week. Why can't I take a class now? Well, it's been 3 weeks into the semester, so we can't just have someone join a class that way. Have you even applied? I don't have to wait. I just sign some papers and give a check and get in class. I need to do that. Me: I'm sorry, the semester is closed. We can't do anything else, but have you applied for spring? Here she got very red-faced and actually started pacing around our lobby. You know, you're not the only school in the city. You should want to have me. Me: We would gladly take you in January, but our policy states that no one can enter after the registration deadline. Who else can I talk to? Because you are no help. Her daughter, by the way, is just sitting in a chair looking very embarrassed. Me: Okay, well, we have our student support dean upstairs who I think can help us with this situation. With that, she grabbed her daughter and headed out of the office and up the stairs. She didn't even wait to hear exactly where to go. Turns out the dean and everyone in the office was gone, so I heard the next morning that the woman actually wandered the halls for a few hours before being met by campus police and asked to leave since it became after hours. We haven't heard about her since. I've speculated that she is in a job or a program that gives benefits to anyone who is enrolled in college, and they came asking her for proof. It's pretty common. The catch is, these employers don't ask for proof until after they know all school schedules have closed their registration just for people like this woman. She can go to any school she wants, but won't be given anything. Never bully your insurance company, or you lose your franchise. This story comes from a friend of mine, Sarah, and has been building for almost 5 years until it all came crashing down over the last week. A few things to note before I get into it. Sarah works at an insurance company, dealing with a massive nationwide delivery company. Her company insures all the delivery trucks. Over the years, Sarah has seen her fair share of anger from callers, mostly justified, or people letting off steam at an anonymous voice on the other end of the phone. She's learned not to take it personal. She absolutely despises the owner of one particular franchise depot, Jerk. Onto the story. We start in 2016. Jerk is the franchisee of a vehicle depot for a delivery company, meaning he's sort of an owner, but the company's CEO could take away his ownership if they feel like it. I'm not sure exactly how this works, but as far as I understand, it's a fairly standard franchise contract, so anyone who knows about these things should have a rough idea of what Jerk has to do. Jerk calls in for the first time to talk to Sarah about a claim one of his drivers is making. Something simple, reversed into a wall, minimal damage, but claiming to get the vehicle repaired. Jerk starts ranting and screaming about how dare he/his driver be expected to pay an excess standard. Sarah has dealt with people like this all her career, so she just deals with it as she always does. And so it continues for 2 years, with Jerk bullying any call handler when he calls about a claim. It's annoying, and plenty of people have been brought to tears by it, but they can't stop serving him because he is responsible for dealing with his franchise's claims. It's now 2018, and Jerk decides to get himself arrested. To give you an idea of how stupid this man was, one of his drivers had been in a really bad accident. Nobody was seriously hurt, but the van was badly damaged. So while it was being repaired, Sarah organized for a hire van. Jerk goes to the hire company to collect the van, and he's asked to make a £1 payment by debit or credit card to secure the vehicle. I'm pretty sure it's so the hire company can just charge it for any damage caused while on hire, and is an industry standard in my country. Jerk doesn't like this. He argues with the hire company. He threatens to dump the hire vehicle once he's finished with it. Finally, he punches the poor bloke working front desk. As previously stated, Jerk gets arrested. Fast forward to a few months ago. Everyone is working from home. Yay, lockdown. And most people understand this. Everyone except Jerk. He must be having a particularly bad day because his tantrum about how useless Sarah and her company is descends into personal insults. Sarah, having an equally bad day, decides that now is the moment she will get revenge on this guy for everything he has put every claim handler through. So she requests a copy of the recording of the calls, all calls recorded for safety, complaints, and calling people out on their BS. She then sends this recording to 3 people. 1. Her manager, saying she refuses to speak to Jerk because of his behavior. The rest of the team agree, and suddenly there is not a single claims handler willing to speak to this man. Manager says he will sort something out. 2. Jerk's boss, simply stating that this behavior is unacceptable, and the next time he tries to speak to someone at insurance company that way, they will end the call. 3. Every listed CEO or board member of Jerk's company. She wanted all of them to know just how vile this man was. Then today, she gets the call she's been waiting for. A representative of delivery company has called, wanting to apologize for everything Jerk put her and her team through. He also gives the best news. Jerk has been downgraded from a franchise owner to a delivery driver. His lovely pay package, benefits, annual bonus, and company-funded car, a brand new Mercedes for anyone interested, have all been taken away. He now earns a little over minimum wage, 60-hour weeks to pay his bills, with his reputation in tatters. If he doesn't meet the standard for delivery drivers within the next 3 months, he'll be fired. Sarah also learned from someone she knows in the company that his wife is divorcing him because he told her she needs to get a job or they'll lose the house thanks to his sudden drop in income. Sarah hasn't yet met the new franchisee, but if I know her, she'll make it clear that she's the one who ruined Jerk's life and she isn't afraid to do it again if the new guy doesn't treat her and her colleagues with respect. Lesson: don't be a jerk to call center employees. Edit. I want to emphasize for those who have commented on the franchise part of things, I have a very limited knowledge of how this works. As far as me and Sarah know, Jerk started as an employee at this place, then got the money to buy the franchise. There's something in the contracts that allows the company to take away his franchise, and since he was formerly a driver, he was given that job back on probation. Entitled father demands stranger pay for his groceries because he promised he would. Due to me working in a supermarket, I meet a lot of different people, and most of them are incredibly nice and respectful. However, I also see a lot of Karens and male Karens, unsure of the name they have, and that is exactly who this story is about. It was midweek and I was working the tills when a man, entitled Dad, and his son approached and began loading on their shopping, and they had a lot of shopping. After scanning their items, I told them the amount. I think it was around 145 pounds, and the entitled dad began rummaging around in his wallet and pulling out notes of money. After counting it all out, it turns out that he was a few pounds short and decided his son should probably put something back so that he could pay. The kid was upset and reluctantly obliged. However, the guy who was standing behind them at the till spoke up. "I can get that for you," he said, obviously talking to the kid and not the dad. The kid smiled, and before he could say anything, the entitled dad went, "Thank you so much. It comes to this amount." And he threw his son's items on the trolley and moved away to let the man come forwards. The other guy then said, "I was talking about your kid's stuff. I'll buy that. I'm not paying for your shopping. I can't afford to." Entitled dad, "But you just said you would pay." Man, "Yeah, but I meant for your kid's stuff, not yours." Entitled dad, "Well, you can't just make empty promises. You have to pay for it now." He then looked at me. "That's how it works, right? He has to pay because he promised he would." Me, "He doesn't have to pay for anything that you buy, unfortunately." Entitled dad shoots me a mean look and tells his son to pass his stuff to the man behind, who was still nice enough to pay for it, which is a lot nicer than I would have been. And then they both left. Midway through serving the nice guy, I saw entitled dad and his kid at the cash machine through the window withdrawing some more money, meaning all along he could afford it in the first place. So me and the nice guy had a good laugh about that. Refuse to pay $60 to fix my roof? Okay, I'll close your building site down and cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Names, places, and time frames have been changed as per rules. Characters in this story: my friend, who I will call Brian; bullying demolition man, who we will call Keith; greedy property developer, we will call Karen; and the insurance assessor. This tale of nuclear revenge happened a while back and is a work in progress. It's too good not to tell, and I will try and keep you updated down the track. Brian's neighbor is a typical greedy career landlord that left their rental house in disrepair. The poor tenant was living in the cold house, raw sewage leaking onto the lawn, and holes in the house that you could see light coming out of the house. After multiple requests from Brian, Karen refused to get any repairs done. When the state government introduced new laws about ensuring landlords are insulating their rental properties instead of doing this to the house, Karen kicked their tenant out and left the house vacant for 5 years. The old house deteriorated so much more during this time, with rats infesting the house and invading other houses nearby. Brian and his wife, with their limited funds, were able to get sufficient lending from the bank and offered to buy the house and do it up themselves to improve the neighborhood or rent it out, as there is a massive shortage of rental properties in our local county. Greedy Karen did not want to sell, nor did she want to spend a cent on the house to remedy the rodent problem. She also did not care about the effect the house was having on aesthetics of the street. It's important to note that Karen and her wealthy family have over 100 rental properties, and due to lax tax laws in this region, they do not pay a cent and can get tax write-offs when their properties deteriorate, then can claim on this as a loss. Long story short, some of them appear to be leeches on our society and are one of the reasons property prices are so high and rent prices are skyrocketing in our area. Her husband is also the chairman of the state's Landlords Association, an association that he often fronts the media for, defending landlords and putting a good media spin on them when there is negative press. Fast forward 5 years, and Brian finds out that the house is going to be demolished to make way for some new houses to go in on the small section. That's good news at least, though Brian and his wife were anxious about how smoothly the demolition would go due to the fact the houses are quite close to each other. This is important for later. Prior to demolition, the company doing it had to get samples from all sides of the house to check for asbestos. Either Karen made it difficult for the company to get down the side bordering Brian's house, or they simply were too lazy, but only samples from 3 sides, not 4, were taken. Demolition day came around, and Brian was concerned that no safety barriers had been put up to protect his house from falling bricks of the chimney, nor was there anything from stopping dust and debris going all over his new deck and porch area. Later that day, Brian had the pleasure of meeting Keith. Keith is the demolition company manager that is well known around the district for only caring about money and has little regard for people or property. Keith was doing the demolition himself today simply with a helper. Brian returned home during his break at work to check the progress of the demolition and found the demolition was already complete after only an hour or so. The demolished house was in a pile. He climbed up on his roof and, to his disbelief, found hundreds of bricks had fallen onto his roof, causing damage, though he was lucky none had fallen through into the house. Brian phoned up Demolition man Keith to ask about what went wrong. Keith initially played down the damage, despite there being 200 bricks laying on Brian's roof. Even with the damage done, no apology, and the rude attitude of Keith, Brian kept his cool. "Since I did a little bit of roofing when I was younger, I can fix up the roof if you just get me 4 new sheets of roofing iron, and we'll call it even. Don't worry about paying for paint. I can sort that out when I paint the whole roof after the fall." Brian's roof was not in the best of shape, but it was in much worse shape after having bricks dumped on it, leaving massive dents and chipping the paint. This is the moment that a simple decision on Keith's part would do over him and the landlord big time. "Not happening, pal. Your roof is done for anyway. I'll get you a sheet of second-hand roofing iron from my yard to repair the damage on the roof, and I can come and hose off the dust from your deck and dog kennel." Cue the nuclear revenge. The revenge was not intentionally nuclear, but Brian had a dilemma that his roof was damaged and he needed it repaired. There was rain and snow forecast later in the week, and he shouldn't be out of pocket having to buy new materials to fix his own roof up to a good standard. Brian is normally calm and relaxed, but this situation and the way his property was treated sparked an anger that I have never seen before. Brian got in contact with his insurance company, and due to the issue involving a roof, a building assessor arrived that day to assess the claim. The assessor then would be able to seek damages from the landlord or demolition company if he found them to be at fault. Brian also reported the demolition company to the local health and safety authorities due to their lack of safety precautions used when doing the demolition. The assessor got on the roof with Brian and was mortified to hear how Keith had acted in such disregard with the damage done to the roof, and his lack of an apology for any wrongdoings got the assessor mad. He then looked more concerned and bent down and picked up some gray fibrous material. "Luckily, thanks to lockdown, we already have masks on, Brian. This here looks like it is asbestos. I don't know how they got this sign off to get this house knocked down in this manner. You don't know at the time of being exposed to this stuff, but if you breathe in these fibers, it can cause serious diseases later on in life, including lung cancer. I'll get this sent off to the lab for testing and we'll be in touch." Fast forward another day, and Brian was contacted by his insurance company. It turns out the side of the house that wasn't tested was clad in asbestos. Not just any bad asbestos, the worst possible type you can get. Insurance will be seeking damages to replace Brian's whole roof, not just the damaged part. The cost of replacement is likely to be around $20,000 US. This is the cheap part. The demolition site has been shut down by local authorities, and there needs to be a massive decontamination of the area. This involves having to remove at least half a meter of topsoil on surrounding properties, test the soil, and remove more if there is asbestos still found. Areas with decks need to potentially have these removed so soil can be evacuated out underneath. The cost for this cleanup will likely be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but who will pay for this is unknown at this stage. Whether it's Keith or Karen's insurance or them personally, time will tell. In regards to Brian, his family and their dog potentially being exposed to the asbestos, that is another battle for them to fight, and I will keep you updated. Brief update 1. I have just been on the phone with Brian for half an hour. His workplace was very sympathetic and paid for him to have 2 days off trying to sort things out. This is in complete contrast to Karen and Keith, who are yet to apologize and have made life difficult for Brian and his family. Due to the neighboring property being closed off for entry due to the health and safety investigation going on, it means Brian cannot even get scaffolding on his roof yet to fix the roof. Brian is worried now that the landlord is going to try to make his life heck. She's also a lawyer, apparently. Karen was the person that offered the old roofing iron, apparently, not Keith. She spoke to her husband, who said that because the bricks dented the roof, it means it must have been rusty and old, so doesn't need new iron put on. Keith did, however, go nuts at Brian for getting insurance involved, and also the health and safety investigation unit, who are currently doing the investigation. In regards to Brian and family still living in the house, according to the investigator, the risk is negligible and the problems will arrive when the debris are removed from the sections. This will require a large tent, etc. However, the wind has been strong the last few days, and I feel risk is still high living next door to uncovered broken asbestos cladding that is not being kept damp. Brian asked the investigation office person by phone about what to do about his dog and if they needed vet checkups, etc. They were 1 meter away from the fence, which is about a foot from the asbestos when it was broken up. They responded saying, "Do you think your dog will live more than 20 years? If not, I probably wouldn't worry." Brian is also thinking the landlord is probably scheming revenge of her own. Brian paid for a new fence himself a few years back to border Karen's rental, as when he moved in, the old fence was half falling down. She refused to pay half despite this being law. He reckons because the fence is approximately 10 centimeters too high, she will ask him to cut the height down at his own cost so it is in perfect position for her new houses that are to be built. Brian's plan is that he will pull the nice expensive fence down entirely and put 600mm high chicken wire mesh up, as this is all that is required by law and there's nothing she can do about it legally, as he paid for and built the fence. I will continue to keep you all updated. Also, I know that the local newspaper editor has offered to go with Brian to discuss this story with them once the investigation is completed if Karen tries to make life difficult and also expose Keith for his dirty practices. Keith's company has just been awarded a multi-million-dollar contract for demolition of an old car factory, and this would raise some eyebrows. You probably haven't seen this video that just popped up, so come watch it next and we'll see you when you get there. And join as a channel member today and we'll give you a special shout out in our next video. And to have us make any kind of video you'd like us to, just come visit us on Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.